Welcome everybody to NASCAR 1-Up Retro Cup Series is back to our first and only street circuit on the schedule along the streets and airways of St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm standing alongside Kevin Carter for the start of this race, and there's going to be some track position is going to be a key for this race. There's going to be really only one real passing opportunity down in the turn one off the runway. So Kevin, I ask you, what's the strategy going to be for someone starting in the middle of the field that can't quite take advantage of a passing opportunities down in turns for the rest of the circuit?
I would say staying consistent throughout all the rest of the track is good because if you're constantly making mistakes, you're not going to be close enough when it comes to overtake that passing zone.
And one passing zone here down on the wide runways of turn one, and I imagine the run down to turn one's going to be chaotic. Cars fanning out three abreast, but they gotta bunch it down before they enter the tight city streets of St. Petersburg. And as the starting lineup scrolls down below your screen, we can take a look at some of the names dotting the grid. John Martin's on pole position, and this could be a big opportunity race for him, as his championship rival is starting deep in the field down in 38th position. Martin needs to get away well if he wants to take the championship lead.
Yeah, for sure. This will be a big race for him. It's a real opportunity, as you said. It's a great opportunity to just go and get some points, possibly an easy win if he keeps the position. And yeah.
Well, Kyle Corbett is our debut racer of this week, starting in 13th position in the grid. While, as I said, the championship points leader starts deep in the field in 38th after a dreadful qualifying performance out of him. And with that, the field is set, and we are ready to go racing on the streets of St. Petersburg. We will bring you straight to the action live next. And as Martin and Herman line up behind the pace car, he pulls down the pit lane to the wide front straightaway runway of the airport. We can see the green flag in the flagman's hand, and John Martin and Richard Herman lead the field under the green flag. We're green at St. Petersburg, and the field's already fanning out. 3 and 4 wide going down into turn one. This is going to get hairy.
Yeah, it's a wide track as going into their first passing opportunity of the day. It looks like John Martin is going to defend the position.
Richard Herman's up on the outside. Herman's not letting the position go, and I think Herman might actually get it going into the next corner here. Forgive me if the corner numbers are a bit off. It's hard to remember around this place. But Richard Herman looks to be the one who takes the lead, and he will. Richard Herman to the lead coming off of 2.
He gets a switchback from going on the outside in the first part of the chicane as people are starting to slow down and go to the...
One car I noticed back in the field, Kyle Corbett making his series debut. He started 13th in the field, and within half a lap, he's already up in the top 5.
Great from the guy.
Herman continues to lead through the field as Kyle Corbett makes his way up from 13th on the grid all the way up to 5th as we head down the chicane out into the grass stretch. And coming through, he's going to take a peek on Mike Honcho. Probably not going to make it stick, but that's all right. He's got a good car under him, and he's already up in the top 5.
Yeah, it might be looking to make a move here. It's a very wide place, obviously made for passenger jets, but he's not going to have the speed to make a move right now, but he might consider it going into the next series of corners.
I think I saw the yellow lights flashing in the background there. We may have our first yellow flag in a race. We do have our first yellow flag in a race on lap 1. Try and find out where the source of that was. It looks like Christian and Halleck were involved in that. They're both headed down pit road. As soon as we can find the source of this yellow flag, we will bring it to you, of course. But tough break for the drivers of the 4 and the 8 early on in St. Petersburg. So this was the run down into the corner. You can see Halleck in the Exide Ford. He's on the outside of Antzak and Freeman. I can't see where Christian's involved in this. He's deeper in the field than that. But Halleck is 3 wide for a moment. He backs out of it wisely, but he's losing plenty of positions. I'm not sure if there's an issue with his car or... Oh, and he scrapes the wall a little bit. I can't see where he gets enough damage to need to pit, though.
Yeah, he might have an issue as he's holding up every single car behind him.
Now we can see what happens to Christian, though, as Christian makes his way past. I think Halleck might have a mechanical problem, but he definitely has a mechanical problem. But as you can see, Christian runs through the corner behind ahead of the 75 and behind the 14. He looks to be in decent fashion. He runs wide. Oh, there's what happened going through the chicane. He just nosed it into the tire barriers, and that is Christian's race over with on lap 1. Didn't even get a chance.
Yeah, I guess he blipped the throttle too hard because he got the back end out, and by then, there was no hope for him.
Tough break for the driver of the number 8. Here we go on board now with the 8. You see him just nose it in. He just ran too wide through the corner, just nowhere for him to go in the second to last turn, and he just got caught out. Nowhere to go.
Yeah, that was a nasty smack. He looks to be okay, though. That is one of the positives to come out of this crash. Another one is that the field is bunched up, and we could possibly, on the green flag, down to turn 1, we might see some new opportunities for people looking to pass.
As the lights are out on the pace car, which means we are going green this time by, with Christian out of the race due to an accident, and Halleck still in the race but deep in the field after a mechanical issue set in early in the race. But right now it's Richard Herman out front of the field with Martin and Denoto second and third. Mike Concho in 4th place. Kyle Corbett, the big mover of the race so far, in 5th. Peter Onjak in 6th. Arthur Xavier in 7th, Nick Ortiz 8th, Alexa Lutchin in 9th, and Bobo Jones runs out your top 10 as the pace car pulls off. The field in the hands of Richard Herman once again. And looks like the field is pulling in. We're green at St. Petersburg, and the field fans out once more. Martin's going to make a move going into turn 1. Will it stick this time? He's going to try and do what he couldn't do on the initial start, is hold off Richard Herman. But Herman's just got such a good run off the high side, I don't think he can do it.
Yeah, he didn't appear to have enough of a good run as the streets start to tighten up. Going into the braking zone, he gets a little bit of a look from the 00 car, but no moves being made so far in this race as the
side by side with Onjak and Corbett now for 5th position. Onjak trying to impress in his substitute role for Caden Atkins in the 2 car, and he may well do it as several cars run wide. Denoto and Onjak both run wide on that corner, but hopefully that won't lead to another crash later as Herman starts to extend the gap a little bit with Martin and Denoto in hot pursuit.
I saw Corbett, while you were speaking, run a little bit wide, but it doesn't appear that he has any damage. Losing the spot to Caggiano.
That would be losing the spot to Peter Onjak is Kyle Corbett as Richard Herman continues to dominate this race going through the 1st and 2nd corners, and he's got quite a giant lead building up. But now Denoto is going to try and get a run on Martin. Can he make it stick or not? Oh, Denoto into the wall! And will he lose the spot to Mike Concho there? No, looks like he'll be able to hold on, but he's got a big dent in the left-hand side. That's not going to help him any as he tries to make his way through the field. But after a rough outing in Monza, Denoto's just trying to have a clean, calm race and finish in the top 5 on a road course like he should have last time out.
Yeah, that dent might hamper his performance as the 3 cars behind him have been pretty aggressive in these races so far, barring Corbett, as it is his first ever race in the series.
And Herman's continuing to gap the field. It's now over a second lead over Martin and Denoto. It was starting to look like a runaway from Richard Herman. He's always been quietly running in the top 10 in these races, but he's never had a win. Could that change here today as they cross the start-finish straight once again as we start lap number 6? And Herman defending the line off of any impeding threats, but there weren't any that time by because Martin was too far behind to make a move there. But now we're side by side with Denoto and Honcho for 3rd and 4th. Denoto looks like he'll be able to hold him off.
Yeah, speaking of runaway, he just pulled off the runway. And anyways, that was a good attempt by Honcho, but it wasn't enough to get past Denoto, as Corbett tries to make a move on that 2 car.
Of Peter Onjak, and it doesn't look like he'll be able to do it, but this is still a good run from Corbett. He started 13th, and he charged his way up to 5th on the first lap. Nick Ortiz having a strong showing in the top 10, as well as Alexa Lutchen, Bobo Jones, and Arthur Xavier dropped a bit on the restart, with Justin Hutchinson hot on their heels in 11th, hoping to get another top 10. He runs wide, Jack Porkins runs wide, Josh Drake runs wide. It's going to be a theme for this race. A lot of cars running wide through that corner, but they all seem to be coming out of it okay.
Yeah, it's been a pretty clean race so far, barring that one incident. As we have another yellow, we saw the caution lights flash.
And there's the yellow flag coming out for Richard Herman. Let's see who it involves. It's a black car. I see him on the pit lane. Let's see who it is. Trying to figure out who's the source of the yellow is, and once we do, we of course will bring it to you as always. And coming down the pit lane, trying to find the car in the crash or in the caution, and it's the points leader, car number 75 out of the race. It's the points leader. This is going to be a big blow to his championship hopes with a DNF here. I don't see any damage on the car. It must have been a mechanical failure that hampered the 75's day.
Tough break for the 75, obviously, as you said, the points leader. And that sucks because his championship rival is still in the top 5 in 2nd position.
Going down into the first turn, let's see what happens to him. Yep, there's the telltale smoke coming out, and that's a signal of a catastrophic engine failure coming out of that 75. Stopped right on the track. Jack Halleck did a good job avoiding that. They had no choice but to throw the yellow after that one. Tough break again for the points leader. He will most definitely not be keeping that points position when we leave St. Petersburg. Tough break, but it's what happens when you run these engines too hot on these road courses. And a pace car pulls off the field, leaving Richard Herman at the front of the field once again, coming to 5 laps to go in this race. Will we see another yellow flag, or will we run green the rest of the way? The green flag is out. We're underway. The field fans out yet again. Will Martin make another move? He will make another move, but will it stick this time? Going into 1 and 2. Field fans out wildly through the first turn, but it looks like Herman will be able to hold him off once again.
Honcho couldn't get past Denoto again, but then he's going to try on his left side.
Herman continues to lead this race with Martin right behind. It's been pretty much a staple of this race with Herman out front and Martin in second, but we could see a lead change later in this race if Martin can get close enough. Denoto still got that damage from that one incident, but he's still racing alongside Honcho, and there's Onjak and Corbett racing behind them in 5th and 6th with Ortiz right behind them. But Richard Herman's just put on a clinic in this race. He's dominated today.
Yeah, he's led every single lap despite all the cautions and all the overtaking maneuvers that have been tried to have been put on him as he goes onto the runway to start lap 10.
And will come to 4 laps to go in this race. Richard Herman's put on an absolutely perfect race. We have not seen anything other than that from him so far, but Martin is still hot on his heels. He's going to try something. And as you can see, with an average speed of only 67 miles per hour, it hasn't been the fastest race here at St. Petersburg, but it's definitely been an interesting one. As we see Hutchinson move up into the top 10 for the first time today. And the yellow flag is back out. I caught the yellow lights on once again. The pace car is back out, and it looks like Seth Taylor and Cal Farrell and Ricky Freeman Jr. may all have problems in this race. Freeman slowing to a ridiculously slow pace. We're not sure what happened to him, but I imagine his trouble must be mechanical, because I don't see any damage on his car yet. We'll see what happens, though. Tough break for Ricky Freeman Jr., one of the promising young talents on the tour.
Yeah, I saw a dent in someone else's car that may have something to do with the yellow flag that has been put out here at St. Pete. And you saw that car there, but the cameraman flashed by it.
And while we were talking, Jack Porkins has fallen out of the race, too, with a tire failure on his number 16 Ford. That just put him out of the action. As now you can see Ricky Freeman Jr. going through the corner. We could see Cal Farrell back there. Oh, and yep, there's the smoke coming out of Freeman, as we expected. An engine failure putting an end to Ricky's day at St. Petersburg. Tough break for the 56 Chevrolet.
As we see there, another incident involving
now
the
we
32.
see what happened to Seth Taylor. Could this be what happened to Christian all over again? He's 3 wide, and yes, that's exactly what happened. And Oxendine gets involved as well. It's the exact same thing that happened to Christian happens to Taylor, except this time he swiped the right side clean off. He started last in the field and wasn't making his way too far up. Now let's see what happened. He's 3 wide with Ace and with Mashburn, but yep, Taylor just had nowhere to go, and Oxendine just had nowhere to go. Tough break for both drivers, but Oxendine looks like he'll be able to continue. Seth Taylor, unfortunately, will not.
We saw Paul McKinney as well had a little bit of damage from front-ending Oxendine when he was being spun around there. He could possibly have some front-end damage, but he's not really a contender in the race.
A melee taking out several drivers in this race. However, the lights are back off on the pace car, so we should see the green flag coming out this time by. Herman is still your leader. Martin, Denoto, Honcho, and Onjak are still your top 5. Then it's Corbett, Ortiz, Hutchinson, Lutchen, and Henry Thomas rounds out your top 10 as the pace car works its way through the chicane. And we will see the green flag this time by. Takes the right-hand turn onto pit road, leaves us in the hands of Richard Herman, leading us into 2 laps of racing to go. And the green flag is out. This might be Martin's last chance to make a dive on him. Will he make it? He's going to try. They're 3 wide behind him for second. And Herman holds him off. But it's 3 wide for second between Martin, Denoto, and Honcho. They're all leaning on each other going through these tight turns. They're still 3 wide.
Yeah, I saw Honcho got sent a little wide as they're still 3 wide going down this second straight. But Martin is going to fall back behind here to 4th, actually, as Denoto is still being under pressure from Honcho, but he's going to make the move, and he has cleared him. And meanwhile, Martin is getting attacked from Onjak in the number 2 car.
And they're starting to spread out now a little bit as Kyle Corbett settles into 6th position as Herman continues to pull away from his latest challenger, Sam Denoto. Much of the cars running wide through there, that's expected. But here we go through the set of corners once again. Herman continues to lead, going through the chicane, going out onto the grassy area, making the long right-hander back onto the runway. And as he comes off of this corner, he will see the white flag, and he will start the final lap of the race. What a perfect day by Richard Herman. Nothing has been able to stop him today other than a few cautions. But even then, he's been able to hold off every challenger on his way today.
Yeah, he's just been able to constantly be running away. Perfect execution from Herman. Great day. He's been leading every single lap in this race so far, despite all the challenges that have come forth from him. But he still has cars to contend with.
As Corbett finally makes the re-overtake on Onjak for 5th place as they go through the slowest section of the course once for the final time as Luchin sneaks on the inside of Ortiz. It doesn't look like it's going to work, but Thomas making a move up to 7th. He's made a charge in the late stages, passing a few cars. But Luchin runs really wide out the corner, as does Josh Drake. But right now, this looks like Richard Herman's race to lose as they go through the chicane for the final time. And capping off a perfect race, Richard Herman comes through 3 and 4, comes off the final set of corners for the final time. And Richard Herman comes down the final straightaway, and he will win at St. Petersburg in a flawless victory.
He runs away on the runway.
And I saw the yellow lights come back on again for good measure, too. Race will end under caution. But Mike Honshaw will grab 2nd away from San Donato at the end. John Martin will take 4th place ahead of Kyle Corbett with a spectacular debut race in 5th. Peter Onjak will take 6th ahead of Thomas, Luchin, Bobo Jones, and Nick Ortiz, rounding out your top 10. What an exciting race. We'll try and figure out where that last caution came from. And once we find that out, we'll, of course, bring it to you. But this was an exciting race for all drivers involved, even if one driver led every lap.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a very fitting end to a very fitting race. Pretty exciting, even though there wasn't really that many lead changes. Yeah.
And it looks like Josh Drake was the cause of the final caution. He slowed dramatically on the straightaway leading into the runway, so he will be classified as out of the race. Tough break for him. He had such a good run. But congratulations to Richard Herman on a perfect run, winning at St. Petersburg. And we say goodbye to the road courses for a little while anyway. We take you to the short tracks. Next up is Martinsville Speedway. And we're looking forward to that one as much as you are. And from Kevin Carter and myself, we say goodbye from St. Petersburg. Congrats to Richard Herman. He is your race winner at St. Petersburg.